It's October 31st, 2021. It's Halloween, which is a pagan holiday where the children dress up in costume. It's like, I guess, pagans and pageantry, or peasants and pageantry. I saw that the Irish know what that is. And a peasant is in Ireland anyway. At least the video of what they were showing, the people were respectable. They were dressed not to the nines or to the hilt, but they were dressed in regular area clothing. In my area, it's a little different because I'm just below poverty line, with not being able to have money or compensation of my own. I don't know why, in order to afford clothing and necessary hygiene methods, to stay out of the doctor's hands in an AMA, CDC bullshit territory. Now, there's something called a tri-state. I've heard them reference growing up and on the television in my lifetime. They always say the tri-state, and then they make it sound like it's New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. But depending on where you are, sometimes they swap one out for Pennsylvania. And that gets confusing. But for the most part, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, the only T-R-I I've ever heard other than that, in association with what I've got going on that's living around here, would be the trisomy, Trisomy, which is a contour artist's rendering of a visual difference, extra piece of skin, I believe is what they call it, or a different tailoring to the skin or whatever, but it's naturally, unnaturally occurring. It's not by a surgical process. It happens by natural childbirth in the womb. And it's just a genealogy difference and a lineage difference, for paintings of one's own heir. Then there is a New England, which New York technically qualifies for New England. Or at least it has before and has been referenced before. But now, tri-state, I'm noticing they made another mention, is turning, or has become, like a hot spot of Port Authority breakdown and security, along with New York and Baltimore. Baltimore's a whole nother mess. They're in a different grouping. I don't know what theirs, whatever is. But I've got Garden State. It used to be called Empire State, New York. Now I'm seeing that they put on the license plate Excelsior State. I don't know when that changed or why. They haven't made mention of it. It's just, I noticed on the streets, the license plates went from a mustard yellow and a dark blue saying Empire State to a background of white with Excelsior. But I have no idea what that means or where to even try to look that information up. That ties back to an alarm that was going off by the fallout shelter today. I saw there was a gentleman that I've seen, a neighbor I've seen before. His name's Kevin. He was on his cell phone. He was walking past me towards the front of the telephone building. Curious to know if he heard the alarm. Let's think about this. So there's trisomy and tri-state. Something's going on there. I don't know what. But this ties back into the dialogue about Herzog all of a sudden giving me some diagnosis of something that, I mean, my parents didn't have health insurance. My dad couldn't afford it. So my mom and dad always had to pay out of pocket. So they tried not to do procedures, but then I needed some procedure because this one doctor said I did, and Linda said you have to trust the doctors. I don't know why. Or she trusted the doctors. I don't know why. Again, there's been no real protection of my kind of people since this whole thing went on. The other thing is, I spoke yesterday about something Linda's talked about. Like she has these like catchphrases or punch lines. And she mentioned something about a riot act. Like she say, get in there before I read you the riot act. Not that she could read a riot act because she doesn't have like an official one, but she's got some doo-wop antenna service that throws her a line every, like a fish in a pearl of wisdom of some sort, in my audio chamber, which then confuses whatever. I just think about this. So that goes back to some riot game that the kids at the park were telling me about that they play on the computer, which I had never heard of, about placing bombs in places. Then I heard Kumar and something or other about eating burgers at a White Castle. He said something about a bed sheet and about Seek. Now I'm confused because there's a game that children play without computer called hide and seek, where they used to say, all right, I'm going to count to whatever, you go hide, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to try to find everybody. I mean, that used to be a game that when I was a child that they used to promote the children to go mimic in mimicry. I don't know why, but I know it's important. But that is an innocent version, hide and seek. But the way Kumar said seek, it sounded like sick, SIC, instead of SEEK, or however seek is spelled. But hide and seek is spelled SEEK. So that's a little confusing because I'm like, what are they hiding? Things, expecting people to find them, otherwise people get sick. Doesn't that go back to contorting with torture and torts, and then extortion, being you tortured them to death, they couldn't find it in time, and so you forcibly forced them into some sick, tortured situation? Because that's what it kind of feels like. There's some Aberdeen whatever with some wiener guy. They were mentioning this morning on Sunday News something about a Jew and a Muslim. I have no idea what that's a reference to. I don't study their current fights. And then she didn't even study in America. She studied somewhere else, I guess where it's more respectful or more learned, in Saudi Arabia, they said. But she came and was pretending to be an American. She wasn't born, I think she was born here, educated there, and then came back, but raised as Saudi Arabian. And then she was the chief of staff to Clinton, or Hillary Clinton, in that era. So that gets confusing. But the wiener guy, it looked like his cell phone was just like, I don't know, you could be holding it and somebody snap a photo without you knowing it because there's a camera on the front and the back. And if you're not fully dressed and you don't know people are like out to get you, they could just steal your camera photos, which is really dangerous. Goes back to the bathroom thing, not taking the cell phone in the bathroom, which nobody ever listens. I don't know why. I was just thinking about this. Ow. Oh, I love you, baby dolly. So this is while I'm in this hole in space and time, in like a topiary whatever. I've got time dysplasia going on, mixed in with dementia and amnesia, and then trying to piece together with the only source of current event I have, which is this tell-a-vision with their words, And with targeted campaigns that have gone on over my life frame that have left me here with, then I also said isn't there some kind of celebrity stalking law, like people at the executive official office of, like, say, chief of staff, isn't it illegal for them to research my level of human in order to try to tort and torture and then extort and contort all of the whatever in order to personally gain or help others in their whatever get to other places? Because I really feel like I was a victim of private insurance and then publicly shamed elsewhere, out of a marriage that I desperately wanted and was built for in celestial equinox and solar system of an immaculate conception and a very important birth. But somehow, between overeducated elsewhere and quiet and dangerous, and left in some kind of chemical factory in New York without word access and the entire movie set and script being under attack and manipulation, so others are getting things elsewhere. It's really difficult to explain, but it is a most serious issue, and I'm stuck right in the middle of it, and I'm being harmed, and I don't know how to get out of this particular torture device, because I don't have access to premeditated or to postdoctoral or doctorate, and how that ebb and flow of information and law occurs in order to protect a system that currently is in catastrophic length failure, which I can tell from my end because the sun has now been used into a weapon of illumination, causing convection, causing the health of the human biology to be cooked on the streets at a level. I have confirmed proof of it. I mean, I'm shedding what looks like blood pudding because it cooks to such an egregious level, and then every 30 days I'm able to see just how badly I was cooked the month before. But again, there's no AMA doctor that I trust or that I would disclose this stuff to, being left here as I am. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It is Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. I'm going to see if I can find that Sunday morning clip, if I have enough memory.
Good morning and happy Halloween. I'm Jane Pauley, and this is Sunday Morning. For millions of Americans, today is one of the best days of the year. Costumes, candy, scary movies, and things that go bump in the night. And while it may all be in good fun, all that scary stuff is sometimes the stuff of nightmares, which it turns out might not be such a bad thing after all, as Tracy Smith will explain.
For people in the horror business, nightmares are a badge of honor. Do people come up to you and say, "You gave me nightmares"?
Yeah, I'm telling you, the highest compliment is you gave me nightmares. I mean, you don't make horror movies for people to go, oh, it made me feel so good.
So can bad dreams be a good thing? Coming up on Sunday Morning. Nightmares, nothing to be afraid of.
They're one of the most most successful bands in pop music history prefer Scary Night
Jason,
to
believe it or
Sweet
not,
Dreams.
my ex, lives on Elm Street. But he also used to
As
live
if
at
the real world wasn't
128,
scary enough,
which
we
the
celebrate
Hollywood
our
Scary Movie
fears
World
every October.
acknowledged
On Halloween, the
1428
creepy
on
costumes
something
come out.
else.
And every year, it seems Hollywood trots out a new movie with a familiar plotline.
I've never seen any of these movies.
Halloween Kills is the 12th. Yep, the 12th installment since 1978.
I want to take his mask off and see the life leave his eyes.
And you probably remember your first Halloween movie. But did it give you bad dreams or a nightmare? There's a difference. Let's start with the definition. What's a nightmare?
Well, most people think nightmares are just about fear, but they can really be any really negative emotion.
Dream expert. Be unforgettable. This is the Hollywood Museum in Los Angeles, where you can see props and costumes from Jason to Pennywise. And at least some of these films, like the ones with Freddy Krueger here, were actually inspired by nightmares.
If I have a nightmare, I'm so excited. The first thing I want to do is write it down. Because it's like this.
Yeah, nightmare, your skin burning like Freddy. Like the claws and so on and so forth that scratched the bottom of my pregnant belly up when the compression system went wrong on like the weather pattern in 1999 right before Y2K.
This gold mine of imagery that you'd never get otherwise.
Gold mine
Director
of imagery.
Eli Roth
Look at
knows.
that.
As a kid growing up in Boston,
Not that I've
he was
benefited
obsessed with
ever.
horror films. His early drawings were filled with scary movie scenes, and he had himself sawed in half at his bar mitzvah, much to the dismay of his relatives.
That was your bar mitzvah.
That was my bar mitzvah. I was just a
Yeah, see,
weird kid.
Personally
And
did that.
kid
I
grew up
didn't.
to host Eli Roth's History of Horror.
I've
on
never even heard of
AMC.
this.
Creepshow is presented like an EC comic book from the 1950s.
It's a show about the kind of movies that you'll see in your sleep.
None of us like having nightmares, but they're actually very healthy to have because you're acknowledging something you're afraid of and you're letting out and expressing it. I just take my nightmares a step further and then I write it down and I film it and I project it onto everybody else.
You share your nightmares
Projects
with
it
the
onto
world.
everyone else.
Roth even played a character who tried to give Nazis nightmares.
You've ever killed Jews?
A Jewish American soldier with a baseball bat. Of course, you don't always need a bat to knock an audience out.
Telling stories all wrong again. Eating your own, like Lex Luthor. It's a really disgusting
Sometimes
habit
the
you
image
humans
of
have
pure evil
gone
is
into.
enough to keep people up at night.
The census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Talk about nightmares. This is the actual set that was used in the filming of 1990.
They're never going to be able to tell the story right, no matter how many Hollywood cameos they make or attempts.
Help sort out the day's events and anxieties, big and small, while we're asleep. When our dreams scare us, we like to figure out what
Whatever, this is the human version, a portion of it.
University of North Carolina, Chapel
What's
Hill,
that?
and says that we contain
This is another segment where they go into an old house. I went into an old house in Patchogue, zip code 11772, with Tia Frio and I think Rich McQuillan. We went to go look at a house across the street. It was the mirror image of my own, except it had been left. It was before it got renovated. We went in, and all of a sudden, while we're in there, somebody came up behind us and took the boards on the front of the house, and they screwed the wooden boards into the house and locked us in the fucking house. But we had our cell phones were dying because we were using them as flashlights, and we had to call across the street and hope that somebody was home to let us out of this house with no electricity that we were inspecting.
Have a safe and happy Halloween from
I'm not going to
CBS
go
2.
into the whole feature here on this, but this is
Coleman
enough.
Aberdeen seemed to have it all. She was a top aide to Hillary Clinton.
1 second, I'm
and the
almost done,
wife
baby
of a
doll.
brash New York congressman. Then came the tabloid sex scandal. Nora O'Donnell is in conversation with Huma Abedin.
This is your first television interview.
Yes,
You've never done an interview like this before.
that's correct.
Why are you speaking out now?
Well, I think for most of my adult life, certainly the last 25 years that I've been in public service or in the public eye, I have been the invisible person behind the primary people in my life. But what I realize is that if you don't tell your story, somebody else is writing your history.
Huma Abedin's story is as unlikely as it is extraordinary. From the pinnacle, lowering your
This is
A1C with
interesting.
once weekly Ozempic
Knocking
can
you
help
out
get
of your zone. There it is. Ozempic.
My zone, lowering my A1C.
And it's for diabetes to something.
Back to the game.
I don't make the commercials.
Lower A1C. Most
But it
people
has a
think of
wiffle ball
fixed
reference.
A1C under 7
And an
maintain it.
open
And you may lose weight.
US Open with this back and
And it
forthness.
does also
Here's the reference to the wiffle balls. See, they're putting these, whatever these are, into this gigantic tube. The wiffle balls I was referring to were as white as volleyballs. Just because people keep adding and making artistic changes. Now, this is interesting. This gentleman, he was not in The Wizard of Oz. He was in a spoof, which is called The Wiz, in New Jersey. He got cast as the Tin Man.
And this was the first time I experienced being in the zone as an actor.
It was during a school production of The Wiz in suburban New Jersey.
And I put the axe up and I turned to the audience and I say, all you fine ladies out there, and I just did this pelvic thrust. And the crowd went nuts. And I was just like, that feeling was interesting.
Interesting because it gave Penn, born Kulpan Suresh Modi, a way to navigate his world. Going from a self-described skinny brown kid from New Jersey to a movie star in films like Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Prepare to get blazed, because in the next couple of hours, I expect both of us to be blitzed out of our skulls. Got it?
All right, I got it. And TV shows like Sunnyside.
When I come back, you guys will have the right to vote. And I'll probably be a little drunk because you can drink on the ferry.
Penn's journey to star.
I went to a bar with Melissa in Sunnyside once. She knew where it was, and we were supposed to go there to meet up with some Greek crew. I don't know. Melissa knew some things about Queens. I just followed. She was from Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
To stardom was a somewhat unlikely one. Born in Montclair, the child of parents who moved to the U.S. from India, Penn didn't see many people who looked like him on American film and TV growing up.
If you've always grown up seeing people who look like you on screen, I totally understand why a lot of people are like, well, what's the big deal? But to be invisible, it kind of makes you feel like your possibilities might be...
Sounds like a spin in the reverse of somebody else's story.
Might be limited. Thanks for letting us take over the classroom.
Take over the classroom.
But he found an early champion in nearby Howell High School drama teacher Stephen Kazikoff.
What do you remember about him as a student?
Cal had a wonderful natural way of approaching something.
Yeah, nobody.
Trying to avoid stereotypical roles
Here's the White
while
Castle
still
bit.
advancing up Hollywood's ladder.
Oh, let's do this together.
Then came Harold and Kumar. The cult comedy hit features two leads, both Asian American men who speak without accents and have simple goals: to get very high and to visit a White Castle.
I was really happy that this movie was going to be made, whether I had the chance to play him or not, but really I needed to figure out how to play him.
The film changed the course of Penn's career, leading to serious movie roles like the award-winning The Namesake.
Mama, is that what you think of when you...
Decided to do something highly unexpected. He walked away from acting to campaign for and eventually join the White House staff of Barack Obama.
I remember my manager being very perplexed and said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? It's not a career shift. It's not like I want to do this forever. This is the time to do it, and I feel passionately that it's something I want to do."
Penn worked for 2 years in the Office of Public Engagement with a focus on connecting with Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, an experience he details in his new memoir, You Can't Be Serious, published by Simon & Schuster, a Viacom CBS company.
I don't like politics. I like public service. And that goes back to my grandparents who marched with Gandhi in the Indian independence movement, and those were the dinner table conversations that we had.
And one more thing Penn writes about in his new memoir, his partner, Josh.
I thought it was interesting how it presented itself in the book. It was fairly matter of fact.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to put that?
Then there's a commercial for this, and it gives me hope in the world.
She's a Russian national. I'd like you to help me find her.
The new NCIS LA tonight, 9/8 Central on CBS.
After a month-long CBS television event, SEAL Team moves to Paramount Plus on November 1st. New SEAL Team tonight and stream the next day on Paramount Plus.
CBS News.
Now,
60
I've
minutes,
never
Sunday
seen
on
either SEAL Team or NCIS. I've caught clips and phrases here and there, but not very many. I haven't had a premeditated script that warranted it or needed it. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. I'm still traversing this, and that's my only piece of current events news. It's the only thing that they allow here in speech and in whatever, while there are alarms going off on the main concourse or the main boulevard. Nobody seems to know in the area who to contact. Doesn't say what the alarms are for. And I certainly am breathing in things and limping down the sidewalk because of other health issues that I know at Climate Change and Planetary are known about the severity of this area, but seem to be going unaddressed. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.